Alijah Navarro-Munoz, and for my final presentation, I'll be discussing the play The Little Clay Cart and the Medieval Era. Here are a table of contents, and here are some questions that I'll be answering throughout the course of this presentation. First off, why did I choose to discuss the medieval era and the play The Little Clay Cart specifically? The main reason has to do with the topic of morality. The medieval era was centered around many topics such as mystery and other subgenres of entertainment. However, during the 15th and 16th century of theater and entertainment, one of the main topics that the medieval era indulged in entertainment-wise was morality plays, and the positive impact that came with good characteristics, morals, and empathetic actions through characters' personification of noble characteristics. The medieval era also found a way of engaging in topics of conversation regarding morality through performances based on struggling spirituality, sin, death, and youth. In the Sanskrit drama, The Little Clay Cart connects back to morality through the unique perspective and its overall message of virtues by focusing on characters who managed to obtain generosity despite their struggle and were completely against corruption, greed, and the sin of abuse and power. Many characters, such as Sharudada, deciding to obtain the power of virtue rather than the power of large amounts of money and wealth despite struggle, sending a strong message regarding the power behind topics such as corruption and poverty. Moving on, what are the value and theatrical factors? In The Little Clay Cart, acting, production, physical, and overall performances held such a big value in the messages and how they interconnected with theatrical factors. Starting off, props and design. Actors who performed in The Little Clay Cart often worked with props, but these props also served as a very important message of, for example, the contrast between the negativity of greed and nobilistic individuals. An example of this being the terracotta toy cart, which is the complete opposite of a rich neighbor's gold cart. Not only does it hold a visual contrast, but it also holds a contrast within the overall message, and it serves as a little but very important detail. Acting and performance is also a big value in the theatrical factors that are involved in The Little Clay Cart. For example, actors who are performing in The Little Clay Cart physically managed to represent the reality of struggling individuals, both rich and poor, through introducing that conversation of spiritually struggling individuals who weren't financially struggling but struggled with the action of committing a lot of sins, but also financially struggling individuals. And although that play manages to send a variety of messages, this one really stuck out to me because it differentiates from a lot of other plays which we've seen and discussed throughout the course of this class. And performance and acting within the medieval era is a theatrical factor that holds a lot of value in the message behind morality plays that were held during the medieval era. For example, actors during the medieval era who performed in morality plays often showcasing the characteristics of both good and evil through dramatic yet realistic embodiments of emotional performances which represented the emotions of true morality, fear of sin, and far much more. Moving on, what are some modern and historical influences on a human condition within the medieval era? So to answer both of these questions, I'd say the biggest part that the medieval era historically influenced human condition, both modern and historically, has to be emotionally. Surrounding the modern human condition around personal experiences for me has to do with researching and watching a lot of videos surrounding the medieval era and how They evoked a lot of emotions in me, and how despite so much time has passed, theater during the medieval era historically also, after doing research, evoked a lot of emotions from people. It allowed religious expression, but it also allowed multiple audiences to truly experience a new and unique storyline that they hadn't really been introduced to prior as a form of entertainment. Moving on, what's the overall historical and modern importance behind the medieval era and the play The Little Clay Cart? So both historically and in present day, both the play The Little Clay Cart and the medieval era's focus and the overall primary choice of the message regarding the symbolic representation of morality truly encourages positive societal change. As we learn more and more, and we observe both that influential era of theatrical plays, aka morality plays, within the medieval era, and the Sanskrit drama The Little Clay Cart, which serves as an introduction to a completely new subgenre of entertainment and a new perspective that hadn't really been touched and fully acknowledged in its entirety in historical Sanskrit plays and performances. Both shift and completely change something into what some people may perceive as something ordinary to something far more complex and layered, changing a conversation from what we ordinarily see within entertainment to a new topic of spirituality and morality. Here are my citations. Thank you so much for watching.